Hello, beautiful nerdy stitchers. This is Mev back for an update. Today is January 6th, 2019. It's been a while. I think that my last video was a very short one, early December, to tell about the gifting of coats of arms, which a lot of you have watched and have given me absolutely lovely feedback, so thank you for this. First off, I guess I have to wish you all a lovely, lovely new year. I just hope it is filled with love, peace, and stitches, obviously. I've just had 2 weeks full of a very quiet and lovely, beautiful Christmas, and then a sort of strange new year. But thankfully, there were moments in those past 2 weeks that were genuinely lovely. Two of my nieces came over from Africa for the holidays, and so we spent Christmas at my mom's with my youngest sister, those two 9-year-olds, and myself. And as you probably all know, Christmas with children is such a joy, and they are very, very rarely in Europe at this time of the year, so they get to experiment everything. I mean, Christmas, the lights, the gifts, the cold. They live in Niger, which is north of Nigeria, and so the coldest it can get there is in the 25s Celsius, which would be, I think, somewhere about the 70s in Fahrenheit. Anyway, so that was really, really lovely. And then the Sunday after Christmas, I had the huge privilege to meet with Mieke and Patricia. Mieke, we all know, is darling Bluebell. And they were visiting France to spend New Year's Eve at Disneyland in Paris. And so we spent a big chunk of Sunday together in Paris, and we had, I think, a lovely time. It is such a joy to be able to show your city to someone who hasn't never seen it. And I must admit, Paris is packed full of wonders, and so I think it gives you the joy and the wonderful feel of how beautiful the city is to be able to show it to someone who has never seen it. So we had an absolute wonderful time, and so that was, I think, one of my greatest gifts for this holiday season. So that was really, really great. And yeah, and New Year's Eve I was on my own, which was completely planned. I just wanted to stitch my nights away, and as it happened, I was on call for work, and some deals were happening in the US, so 6 hours late for me, or I'm 6 hours, they're 6 hours behind. Anyway, sorry, confusing. But anyway, and so I had to stay up until 4 a.m. To hear that the deals weren't going on. So basically I spent the night trying to stay awake, and then nothing happened. But anyway, that's fine. Now we're kind of back to normal, which is why I can at last do this video. And so let's just jump into it. Enough rambling. First things first, I want to show the world map of stitchers and its additional beautiful stitchers. So as many of you know, I have been asking for details of where where you live, basically, and I had additional names come in the last few weeks, and so I want to say hello and thank you to those lovely stitchers who have recently reached out to me. The first of whom is Jen Ford in Philadelphia, PA. There's Dovie in Billings, Montana. There's Paula in Auckland, New Zealand. So now I have two pins here in New Zealand, which, you know, is very exciting for me. There's Gia, the first stitcher that I know of in New York City. There's Carla in Portugal, which means that I have my first, I hate this thing, pin in Portugal right here. Hi, Carla. And then what I did is I moved Jan Hicks' pin to, let me try and do this proper, to Hawaii. Where is it? So Jan, this is it. You're now in Hawaii, and as you can see, I have stitchers' names almost across the world from New Zealand to Hawaii, which is just awesome. This is just so very cool. I'm obviously missing areas in this map. I mean, South America is not represented, nor is Asia, apart from Irene in Singapore, I believe. I hope I'm not mistaken. But so yeah, so it's, you know, it's taking shape, and I really, really love it. I see this map obviously every day, and I think of you all, and that's really a lovely thing to be able to do. So this is it for the World Map of Stitchers. So again, if you haven't reached out and you just want to tell me your first name and where you live, whether it be an area, a state, a city, I would be more than happy to add your name to this map. I think I have somewhere around 80 names now, which is really awesome. And this will go on until, you know, we all get very, very old, I guess. So thank you again very, very much to all for this. I would like to show you some stitchy gifts, which will allow me to get into my WIPs. And it's going to be kind of a WIP parade, because I think that I have worked on all of the projects that have, yeah, I have started two, but you may have seen them on Instagram. And all that I have here, it's a pile for me. It's kind of giving me a little bit of anxiety, but anyway. So I have all my WIPs, but before I go into my WIPs, I just want to show you some beautiful stitchy related presents that I got. One of which is a Christmas present from my sister. So again, she lives with her 5 children in Niger. Can I try and show you where Niger is? So basically, the other way. Yeah, so Niger would be here, and it's it's one of the Sahelian African countries. So basically, it's almost only desert-like, and there are a lot of different crafts made in some of the villages, and textile, as it happens. And so let me show you this very beautiful pouch that my sister gave me for Christmas. It has stitches on it. Look at this. So, I mean, the shape is really just something made, you know, for tourists, I would say. It's just a simple, tiny pouch, lovely. But on here, you have the traditional colors and stitches of accessories. It's not on garments, because the garments are very, very simple. So these are made by people from the desert, so nomadic tribes mainly, and their garments is just indigo layers and upon layers of fabric, very simple. But all the things that are packed on camels, namely some of the pouches are textile rather than leather, and they are stitched, and this is typically the kind of stitches and colors, very, very colorful. Excuse me. As you can see, it's basically kind of satin stitches with some sort of black back stitch around it. And I love this. And this is really the shape as well. I mean, this here shape is a traditional one, and the colors are very reminiscent of what women use on such textile accessories. So this is a little beautiful pouch that I can put stitchy stuff in, which is awesome. So that was one. And then I want to show you the lovely, I think I've posted this on Instagram, the lovely Emily K from the Netherlands has sent me some silks from Mieke Trebbe de Nice from Bordeaux Paradise, which is the famous, beautiful LNS near Ingeborg, A Stitch Too Far, and Mieke Darling Bluebells. And Mieke dyes her own floss, whether it be silk and cotton, and I have both to show you. So first off, these are 2 skeins of hand-dyed silks from Bordeaux Paradise. Look at this color. This is just gorgeous. I hope you can see. Yeah, that's pretty true. It's a little bit more green than this. It's just handsome, beautiful. Let me see what it does if I put it on the... Is it better? No. It washes out a little bit. It's greener than that. It shows more gray than it really is. It's just beautiful. And then you have an orange, which is gorgeous, which I use to stitch some snowflakes for my mom's Christmas ornaments, which I'm sorry, I don't have pictures of those ornaments. Hopefully, maybe next time I visit her, I can take some pictures and show them to you on Instagram. So this is the, oh my God, this orange is just gorgeous, slightly variegated, just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So these are 2 of Mieke's silks. And then, of course, darling Bluebell couldn't travel without anything in her luggage for me. And so she gifted me 3 kinds of cotton. And it's just... Okay, so what Mieke does, and I think Mieke has mentioned that before, so I won't ramble too long on this, but she hand dyes cotton of various thicknesses, and so that you can determine the thickness of your thread depending on your work and obviously on the fabric you're stitching them on. Guess what? They're blue. Let me show you. So 2 of them. I'm sorry, I need to check the labels. So, yes, that would be these 2 here are the thinnest of the cotton threads. Can you see that? So this is this is a blue-gray with hints of green. It's gorgeous, really beautiful. And then this one is more of a royal blue to a very, very dark navy. So and then excuse me. This one is a little bit thicker, but not much. And this is a variegation. I think Mieke is using this one of her many project. This one is even more variegated, and it goes from a beautiful green, to blues and almost dark purple. Yeah, I think Mieke, you're using this for something. Can't remember. So these are the 3 cotton skeins, and then there's more, of course. So let me try and show this to you again. Yeah, that shows pretty well, aren't they? Just magnificent. So I'm biding my time, but obviously I will find projects to use those beautiful threads as well as the silks. And then the last skeins, and there are 2 skeins that Mieke gave me, are skeins of a even thicker cotton, which is almost like, it's in between 2 strands of DMC and a number 12 pearl cotton, I would say, and I've started using them, so I'll show you in a moment. So these, look at this. I think obviously Mieke must have shown this, because as I understand, look at those colors. I mean, oh, it actually makes me think of Scotland, I guess, because of this thistle color maybe, and the greens, and it's gorgeous. And I believe that Mieke had this cotton dyed on Mieke's request with specific colors, and I am so lucky that Mieke offered me those 2 skeins. It's just beautiful. And so, of course, I had to try them right away. Which leads me into my WIP and a very last stitchy related present. My mom gifted me this tiny little cute pattern. It is miniature with blackbird, and it's a French designer called rien. So let me show you the pattern. So this is meant to be stitched in, can you say negative? So basically the motifs are not stitched and you stitch all around them, right? So you can see a little either rabbit or hare, the blackbird in the middle, and then some floral motifs and a little heart. It's really quite beautiful. It's very small, it's 53 by 53, but because you're stitching where you see the red rather than where you see the right, there are some stitches. And so what I did is I grabbed a piece of fabric on Friday evening, I think. I took Mieke's lovely thread and I started it. So welcome into my WIPs now. So this is what I've done so far. So let me show you the pattern again. So this is the pattern, and basically I'm stitching all the red part, right? Using this beautiful variegated thread from Joke Trebedenice from Bordeaux Paradise. And so this is what I've done so far. Mieke, isn't this just the cutest ever? Can you see all the variegation? So it's like all over the place. I have obviously not at all anticipated where the colors would go, but I mean, it's exactly how it should be to my mind. So this fabric is a tiny little piece of 36 count Edinburgh linen in green poison, and this is an XJU design, and it was gifted to me by XJU Designs, which is really sweet, in one of my last orders. And it's perfect. It doesn't really show, but it's actually a very pale green, kind of a sage green. Yeah, it shows grays as usual with greens, but anyway. And so there, I mean, it's really straightforward. I'm stitching all the background, and so that the motifs are popping up. And so as you can see, the hare or rabbit is already showing. There's a little heart and some kind of, I don't know, maybe little fan-like motifs here. I am a third way in, I think. And this has been stitched a little bit Friday night and quite a bit yesterday on Saturday. And I love it. I mean, Mieke, thank you so very much. This is awesome. This is exactly what was needed. I'm sorry for the thread. What was needed to do this tiny motif. I love it. And so the idea is probably to finish it on a hoop, because I think it's just perfect on that kind of little hoop. So I told my aunt yesterday that her mission when I'm finished with this is to paint the wooden hoop to give it some colors that would go well with the stitch piece. So she knows that when this is finished, she'll have a little bit of work to do. So this is L'air de rien miniature au Merle, blackbird miniature, stitched with some Joke Trebedenice hand-dyed cotton. And I don't know the name of the colorway, so Mieke, if you're kind enough to add it, I have no idea. Oh, maybe, I don't know. I don't want to try and translate Dutch. So this is the first of my WIPs, and it's actually my latest start, and obviously this will be relatively quick when I get back to it. So this is one. Next up would be my travel piece. So there wasn't much travel. I did go to my mother's by train 2 weeks ago for Christmas, and so I worked a little bit on the Blackbird Garden Club series, the Blackbird Designs Garden Club series. And I'm currently working on number 12, which is this lovely pattern with this beautiful house and its purple roof. But I am currently stitching the bottom half. And I haven't done much, but I thought I'd show it to you. The 3 baskets are now done, and the colors are beautiful. I'm stitching this with all the called for gassed threads, and this is 20 count Ada in Rustico, so it's a blend of cotton and linen. So these are the tiny little baskets. This is really a sweet pattern, and the whole collection is absolutely lovely. So this goes, fairly slowly, because I just take it when I have a train to catch or a plane or whatever, because it's very convenient. I don't need anything but my hands and my needle to stitch this, so it's pretty good. Now the 2 following ones you haven't seen in a while. I haven't worked much on them, and I still don't really know why. I believe I'm not very comfortable with the Q-snaps, but anyway, let's go through them. So the first one, I think the last time I showed it was like maybe early November, late October. It's a heaven and earth design because I'm crazy and because you guys are such enablers that at some point I had to do confetti. I don't know why. I don't know what took me. But anyway, this is my take on one of the heaven and earth design. It's called Be Present, and the artwork is by Lisa Steinke. So this is the piece. And what I'm doing is, because this is way too big, way too way too big for me, way too impressive, I'm only stitching the inside of the cartouche, and I am not stitching the very clear, very light areas. So everything that is kind of off-white will not be stitched, although this is a heaven and earth design, so it's supposed to be full coverage, right? But I will not stitch the lightest parts. I will stitch the inside of the cartouche, obviously the swirly things, the word, it says breathe, which I may change, we'll see. And then this lovely, gorgeous butterfly. So this is what it is. I'm stitching it on a 25 count Lugana, hand dyed by XJU Design. And I can't remember the name, but it was one of fall's month, fabric of the month. So let me show you where I'm at, which is ridiculous and haven't changed much from the last time you saw it. So this is the upper part of what I'm stitching of the design. And so this is ridiculous. All of you very experienced and competent stitchers in full coverage pieces will notice that this is 1/1 10th stitch. So the coverage is really, really bad. But I thought that given that the fabric is exactly, I think, the right color, I don't really mind about the coverage being so-so. So yeah, so that's my progress on this heaven and earth design. Let me just try and show you where I'm at exactly. So what I've done is basically this part here. So this central part. And this is roughly 30 by 30 stitches, I think. So this will take me, I don't know, 47 years maybe. But that's fine. And I really enjoy the process of doing confetti stitching, strangely enough. So what I do is just sort out of the DMC, and then, you know, it takes me 10 minutes to pick up one thread, then do 3 stitches, and then let go of the thread, and then pick another thread. It's really, for me, it's funny. It's actually funny. So this is really cool. So this is the heaven and earth design. Now, in terms of BAPs, the next one is also a big one that you haven't seen much because I haven't done much on it. It's a chatelaine. And it's a chatelaine I haven't seen. I think I found one picture of the pattern stitched, and only one. It is called Graceful Sampler, and it's actually very, very beautiful. It's just that, I'm sorry, I'm taking something to show it to you. It's big, and again, I think there's a problem in my way of handling the Q-snap. I'm not very sure, but I'll show you what I've done. So this is, yeah, just to give you an idea of what the pattern looks like. So it's the usual mandala style motifs that we all know and love from Martina, and then there's Gothic, like gorgeous Gothic alphabet, which is just killing me. And so, as usual, you've got a lot of different silks, and then I think it's cranic, is it cranic or petite treasure braids, some beading, and although the main motifs are stitched 1 or 2/2, the letters are 1/1, which is very exciting, and they are beautiful. I mean, look at this. This is a quote from Abraham Lincoln that says, "He has a right to criticize who has a heart to help," which is a lovely quote, but I think I may change it, and I'm not going to put my name in full on in this cartouche. But anyway, so this is Graceful Sampler by Chatelaine, and this is my modest, or humble rather, start on it. Let me show it preferably the right way up. There you are. I'm stitching this on a very dark gray, kind of a slate gray, 28 count. I would say 28 count linen, and it's at Zweigart. So this is where I am. So this had been stitched already. I've started this motif here, which has kind of the same shape as this one. And I've started, look at, I don't know if you can see this, but can you see the black work or back stitching here? This lace effect, which is gorgeous. I mean, as always, Martina does wonders. And there's Petite Treasure braids here, 2 different ones. Can't remember the names of them, but anyway, so this is my progress so far, which isn't much. Again, I have to pick this up again and find a way to be more comfortable stitching on the Q-snap. It's really not very easy for me. I don't know why, and I don't know how to explain to get some advice, so we'll see. I'll try to figure something out. So this is Graceful Sampler by Chatelaine, and it really is beautiful. All the colors are very pale and subtle. It's a mixes of pale greens and blues and grays. I've picked them all. I think nothing is as charted, but it's in the spirit of what Martina had chosen. And most of them are, actually it's all over the place, I believe. Yeah, we've got some dinky dyes. I've got some Tentaculum, the German dyer, and then the French Atelier Soie, some water lilies as well. Anyway, it's just beautiful. But again, I'm struggling a bit stitching this. Now, 2 new starts that I have shown on Instagram already, and that I absolutely love. The first one is an Amy Mitten pattern, and if you haven't visited Amy Mitten's website, please do so. She does gorgeous, gorgeous patterns with a dark twist. So basically, all her patterns are mystery driven, whether it be, and most of them are inspired by antique samplers, but she gives them a twist, and she also dyes her own silks, which she sells in her kits. So all of her patterns come as kits, but I mean, it's totally worth it. She only sells kits with her own overdyed silks, and let me tell you, it's beautiful. You should see. You should go and see Leah Aviatrix Stitcher on Instagram. On flosstube. She started one that is very intricate and is awesome. But anyway, I chose a rather simple one. It's just an alphabet. It's sampler, but it's quirky. And it's lovely. It's called Forgery number 17, Rachel Hallowell. And this is what it looks like. So it's an alphabet, right? With huge letters, very intricate letters. And what I absolutely love about this is that, well, first off, she didn't put the letters in order, which is awesome. I mean, you've got A, D, J, K-I, I think, and then M-S-T-B, whatever. So that's one thing. So the alphabet's not in order. The letters like bigger and smaller, very uneven, very, very fancy, sort of. And she dropped 2 letters. She dropped the X and the Z. And we have no idea why she did that. But there it is. So it's only 24 letters instead of 26. Am I getting this right? I think I am. Anyway, and now here's the thing. I cannot live without a Z in my alphabet. And so, because my partner's nickname is just letter Z. So what I have asked my very good friend, colleague Laura, is to chart a Z to stitch in lieu of the N here. So there will be the letter Z here instead of the N. She'll probably just take the N and then put it upside down. I mean, just like twist it by a quarter circles so that it looks more like a Z. Do you see what I mean? I mean, if you stitch the end, yeah, it kind of looks like a Z, right? And so she's currently recharting this for me so that I have a Z here because I can't live without it. So this is Forgery number 17 by Amy Mitten. Now let me show you the silks. I mean, they are gorgeous. So this is the color palette for this piece. Look at this. And then take just a minute or maybe pause to read the floss names. You've got fugitive, autopsy, corpse, suspect, rope, candlestick, bronze, and then my absolute favorite, the butler did it, which is just awesome. Gives you an idea of Amy Mitten's kind of, you know, universe or her, how do you say that? What she likes, basically. It's just awesome. So these are the silks, which are absolutely beautiful. And at last, here's my start. So the linen was provided with the kit, and I just tea-dyed it because I thought it was a little bit too light. I am a little bit disappointed because I thought I would be able to do some modeling on the tea dyeing, but I think, I don't know what I did wrong, but I did something wrong. Maybe I stirred the fabric in the water in the tea dye too much, and so it was very evenly dyed, and I would have preferred having splotches. It didn't happen, that's fine. This is how it is now. So, can you see this? The D is not showing very well, right? Oh, I wish you could see this better. So the first line is done. I have 5 letters here. Yeah, you can't even see the K. Let me try and do a close-up. There you go, it's better. So A, D, J, K, I. Aren't these awesome? I mean, look at those very, very fancy, intricate letters. It's funny and it's quirky. And none of them are even in sizes, which I think is exactly how it should be. And so this is stitching up fairly quickly. So it's probably something around a 32 count, I believe. Or maybe it was, yeah, I think so. And it's stitched 2 over 2. Oh, what am I saying? It's stitched 1 over 2. So let me show this to you again. It really is lovely, and it's an easy stitch. And those silks, people, they are beautiful. By the way, when I ordered this kit, I also ordered some skeins of her silks, and I need to find something to stitch something with because they're just gorgeous. So this was the Amy Mitten. 2 more, people, 2 more, and then the last section of this video will come up. So the other start that I did, but this is not a surprise. I said that when I had finished the Midnight by Barbara Ann designs, which by the way is coming up, I would start a pattern for my mom. And I've shown this before. This is needle and thread designed by Brenda Gervais, or should I say Brenda Gervais. And so this is the pattern. And I think you all know this, and Suzette, Primitive Stitcher, is currently stitching it. And I mean, this piece is just perfect for my mom. So you've got this lady. Oh, by the way, meet Germaine. So this is Germaine. And then you've got scissors, you've got a needle and thread coming out of it, and then a little basket with sewing notions in it. And then you've got, I don't know if you can see that, but you've got little tiny buttons, mother of pearl buttons, that are actually supposed to be stitched when the pattern is done. And this obviously will be done with some of my mom's tiny buttons. She's got maybe, I don't know, 200, 300 little tiny mother of pearl buttons. So I'm going to steal some of them to finish this piece. So this is Needle and Thread by Brenda Gervais. I love this pattern. Now I started with the grass. This is not very big. This is 200 by 100, right? But this grass in full coverage, this is avocado green by Classic Colorworks, I think. I have to thank Jessie Marie for her 2-hour-long movie the other day, because it helped me to put some stitches in. So there's not much to see. It's not spectacular, but it's coming along. So this is where I'm at right now, and I will not do anything before I finish this grass. So this is it. So I'm past, you see, you can see sew a needle and then P for pulling. So I've passed midpoint. Midpoint was just between the E and the P. So I've passed midpoint on the grass, which is good news. The letters have not been stitched yet, so this is just negative. You can see the fabric, which, by the way, so this is 28 count linen, and it's in the mellow colorway by Picture This Plus. So for once, I'm doing everything as it's called for, all the threads and the fabric. Obviously, I'm not doing 32 count 2/2 because I don't know how to do this. So I'm stitching 1/1, hence the tiny little stitches, but it's a 28 count, not a 32 count. So can you see? There you go. Not very interesting, but it's coming along. And again, the pattern is just so lovely, and it's just so appropriate or so becoming or so perfect for my mother, then it's fine. And then, you know, doing that kind of mindless stitching when you're watching flosstube is just awesome. So so I'm just, you know, stitching that grass away, and then what I'll do is probably take a break from the monochromatic full coverage kind of stitching, and I'll probably do some of the motifs, because once you've done the grass, I mean, you're really happy, but look at this skirt. I mean, it's another like huge chunk of solid stitching. And this is big, I mean, really, really big. So once the grass is done, I'll probably do the those sort of plants here, and then maybe some of the motifs. And I think, oh yeah, I've decided to put a little bit more red in this pattern because my mom is all about red. So you've got 2 different reds from Valdani threads, by the way. So you can see it here, and then on those little motifs here. What I think I will do is stitch the letters and the numbers in that red, because yeah, my mom's color is red. So and some kind of like rusty orangey red rather than bright red. So this is Needle and Thread by Brenda Gervais. And I mean, honestly, it's not that big of a pain to stitch this grass. I like it. Plus, I mean, the verse from there it goes again. The Sound of Music, the movie, the musical. So sew a needle, pulling thread is just brings up such memories from when I was a kid, and I would watch this movie over and over again, that it's just really a pleasure to stitch. Okay, we're almost done with the WIPs, people, and then there's a finish, and then that's about it. Now, the big piece that has been started after I finished Coats of Arms is the beloved Ink Circles Dragon of Sumatra. You all know this this pattern. Latisha, the Crafty Curator, Bev, Palette PC, and many others are stitching it. I think Megan, are you stitching this? No, maybe not. I'm getting confused. But anyway, so this is Dragons of Sumatra, only it's stitched, as you know, in different colors. Are you ready? I love this piece. All right, let's go. This is where I'm at in... Let me do this properly, I'm sorry. This is where I'm at on Dragons of Sumatra. So as you can see, the other way, oh yeah, everything turns blue. I hate this. All right, let's try and go back to normal. Okay, let's see if it will. All right, so as you can see, I had to move my my hoop to be able to stitch on this part here. So this is the central part of the pattern. I had started stitching in the middle, so I'm finished on this side, which goes, I think, somewhere about here, sort of. And as you can see now, I'm stitching on the second half of the rectangle, and I know that I have passed the halfway mark on the inside of the pattern. So let me just show you again. Oh my goodness, I love this piece. I just love it. This is stitched on a 30 count over-dyed linen by Tentaculum, and the colorway is called Klimt, of course. And it is stitched with some over-dyed silks. Colorway is Waterhouse, and it is also overdyed by Tentaculum, this German company I fell in love with. And so, as you can see, it has a little bit of variegation. It's very subtle. And look at those motifs. I mean, this is just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I am loving this pattern. I stitch it at night, and it goes pretty well. The silk is just a joy to stitch with, and I can spend long minutes just watching at where I'm at when I finished a stitching session. It's just so beautiful. Stitching obviously 1/1 because I like 1/1. So let me just try and show you what I did. So this part here is all stitched. So all of this here is done. I am currently working on this little rectangle, sorry, this here, and then I'll have this big ass part here and those two here. That's for the inside of the pattern, and then there's all the border to do. But it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous, and the process itself is really sheer joy. So I'm very happy that I chose this this pattern to stitch. It's it really is perfect from you know, beginning to end. So this was my very last WIPs. Now I don't want to count. I feel that it is a little bit too much. But hey, this is flosstube for you, and this absolutely amazing community enabling you to do all the things, and I am truly loving it. I owe you a finish, ladies and gents. I've shown it on Instagram. It's been done for a little while now, and I gifted it to my aunt, but then I took it back just to show it to you. So this is Midnight by Barbara Anna Designs. And this is absolutely lovely. It's just, okay, it's not finished, it's not fully finished. And the reason why, you might think, okay, Mev, if you're gifting this as a Christmas present, why on earth didn't you fully finish it before? It seems kind of rude, doesn't it? But as you may know, my aunt has been frantically finishing my stuff for me. And so I willingly did not finish this, purposefully rather, did not finish this so that she could use her imagination to finish it herself. However, I did point her into one direction. I think that, yeah, Audrey Stitchy Witch 42 finished one of her Halloween pieces, a tiny piece, lovely one, a very simple, effective way, which I think would do very well with this pattern. She just used, she cut her fabric to whatever size without any, you know, zigzagging or whatever. So it's just plain cut. And then what she did is just she used upholstery tacks to pin it to a board of some kind. And I was thinking this piece would be absolutely perfect finished like this. Audrey, thank you very much. I sent the picture you had shared on Instagram to my aunt, so she has an idea. And I know she's got old rusty upholstery tacks in her treasure somewhere. And of course, she used to be a carpenter, so she's got loads of wood. And so I think she will go for that kind of finish. Now, enough rambling. Show us the piece, Mev. So this is Midnight by Barbara Anna Designs. There you go. Oh my goodness, this piece is just so quirky, lovely. Everything about it is perfect. The quote is from William Shakespeare. It's taken from Hamlet, and it says, "'Tis now the very witching time of night." There's this lovely little village night scene. Some witches, of course, with their brooms. I don't know if you can see them. There are 2 blackbirds up there, or ravens, and then keys, and then little motifs. I have, thank you very much for all of those of you who gave your thoughts on 2 of my questions. So as you can see, I have left the cartouche empty. I didn't stitch over it because the fabric is, I think, just telling enough. And then, I don't know if you can see this, but on the owls, the eyes are actually beads. And this is thank you to Karen Ann Sheridan. Karen, thank you so very much for the idea. It's just perfect. So 2 tiny little, I think it's 11 O's Mieke seed beads for the owl's eyes. And I think it's just exactly how it should be. This is stitched 2/2 on 32 count tentaculum fabric. Colorway is Friedrich, and it is stitched with a huge variety of floss. Almost none of the called for. It was charted for DMC. I think I only kept 2, and then all the other stuff is either Wig Dye Works, Gast, or Atelier Cotton, and it's beautiful, and I love it. And I must say, my aunt, I think, really liked it. So this was intended to go in her cabin. She's got a tiny little wood cabin on my dad's property in the countryside, and it's a witch's cabin. So it's very tiny, and it's all kind of creepy and freaky and lovely, and it's and the interior decor is like the weirdest ever. Stuffed animals. I'm sorry if you're a little bit sensitive to that, but anyway, stuffed animals, weird stuff. Anyway, and I thought that this piece would be absolutely perfect in the witch's cabin. However, when she saw it and I told her that, she said, "Well, yeah, sure, that's a good idea, but I don't go there enough. And I'm afraid that I would miss it, if I put it there." So I don't know what she's going to do. But first she's got to fully finish it. And I will hopefully share pictures of the fully finished piece when she's done with it. All right. So this is it. A few WIPs, a little bit too many for my own taste. A finish of which I'm very happy. Leah, thank you again for pointing me in that pattern's direction. I mean, it was perfect for what I had in mind for my aunt. So thank you so very much. I want to close this video, and I hope to be efficient, with the word thing. It's been a while that I hadn't done this. For those of you who don't know, I am completely obsessed with language, whether it be French or English. And I had a few occasions to share my love of languages with you guys on some either strange words or translations or, you know, place names, etc., etc. And I wanted to share my musing on a word that I discovered thanks to you stitchers that caught my eye and intrigued me. As a non-native English speaker, I mean, you all know what it means and where it comes from, but I was very much intrigued because I had never seen that word before, and so I did a little bit of research, and I stumbled upon some interesting thing. Now, the stitching part is finished, so those of you not interested, please, of course, feel free to say goodbye now. Thank you very much for watching, and for your absolutely lovely comments, and your unwavering support. for those of you who are interested, I saw, I think a couple of months ago, and I think it was from Megan Hugh, Wide-Eyed Stitching Child on Instagram, but I couldn't find the picture anymore, so I may be mistaken. Megan, if it's not you, I'm sorry. Then I can't remember who it was from. Anyway, I saw someone stitching Lila's Studio Nevermore after, of course, the very famous poem from Edgar Allan Poe, The Raven. The quote in the pattern, in the design, in the pattern, obviously said nevermore, and then it says, quoth the raven. And when I saw this word quoth, so Quoth, I don't even know how to pronounce it, by the way, so it may be quoth, I have no idea. So this word I had never ever seen before, and I was very, very intrigued. And so I had to go and check what it meant. Obviously, it just means said, so it's past tense verb. It means said, which is straightforward enough, but still I was really intrigued. And so I went back and looked up for the origin of the word, and I thought I would share this with you together with the poem itself, a little tiny piece, obviously, of the poem itself. So basically, Edgar Allan Poe, you all know this poem. It's a very long poem. It has probably 15, 20 stanzas or something, and almost each of them end by nevermore, quoth the raven. And so this quoth thing really intrigued me, and so I went and checked, and it's basically the past tense of the verb queeth, to queeth, which doesn't exist anymore. That has long gone. It's been long gone, and the word comes from the Old English verb to say, which I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce. I have no idea, but anyway, it comes from Old English, and it progressively disappeared in favor of to say or to tell. But quoth stayed because of basically probably some of the two biggest poets ever in the English language, namely Shakespeare and Edgar Allan Poe. And quoth is probably only solely known today because of Poe's poem, which is kind of, quite awesome, basically. So there you go. And the only word that we still use, the only word we still use with the same origin is bequeath, which would have meant back in the day to speak about, and which is almost only now used in wills, to leave by will, namely. So bequeath is the only trace we have of this old word queeth, and its past tense is quoth. This is where I'm getting at. So this was, I don't know why I'm saying this, because you all know about quoth anyway, but what I want to add is that I obviously read the poem in full by Edgar Allan Poe, and I think a month or two ago, last time I visited my mom before Christmas, I talked about that weird word that I was discovering, and she said, do you know that that this poem by Edgar Allan Poe was actually translated by Charles Baudelaire? And I said, no, I didn't know that. And so can you imagine, Poe is probably one of the greatest poets of English language in the world, and then of all time, sorry. And then Charles Baudelaire, obviously, is probably one of the biggest French poets of all times. And so Charles Baudelaire did translate The Raven in French. And for someone who understands both languages, it is fascinating, absolutely fascinating to read the two versions and to understand the power of the respective powers of both languages. They're not at all in the same domains. The English language is more efficient, probably more powerful, whereas the French language, and I'm speaking of those two poems, this poem specifically in those two languages, the French language is maybe a little bit more, how can I say this? The images it conveys are probably clearer than in English. And again, I mean, both have their own respective gorgeousness, for lack of a better word. And so both versions of the poem are amazing. Obviously, the original one is by Poe, not, let's not be mistaken. But I mean, Charles Baudelaire couldn't do a literal translation anyway. He was a poet, and so I just want to close this video, which is long enough. I want to read one of the stanzas in English, and then I'll read the Baudelaire's version of the same stanza. Obviously, it's going to be in French. For those of you who understand French, I just want you to close your eyes and feel the power of the words put together by Baudelaire on the first verse. It's crazy. It's like literally a punch in the gut. For those of you interested in language, obviously, because otherwise it's just going to be just like boring. But I cannot convey the effect of those words. Just the fact that he put them together in that way to evoke what Poe's saying is probably some of the most powerful lines I've ever read in my life. So this is what I wanted to share. Plus it's funny to hear something that you don't understand, I hope. So anyway, so let me just read you. So this is the second stanza of The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. I'll read the English, the original poem first, and then I'll read the translation from Baudelaire in French. I hope I'm not going to mess the English one. Distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenor, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angel named Lenor, nameless here forevermore. So this is the second stanza of the poem. And for those of you who speak French and understand French, I just want you to focus on the second line of the stanza when Poe says, and each separate dying amber wrought its ghost upon the floor. I mean, in English, this image is already completely amazing, but in French, it's... Anyway, so this is the French version, and I'll leave you at that. Ah, distinctement, je me souviens que c'était dans le glacial décembre, et chaque tison brodait à son tour le plancher du reflet de son agonie. Ardemment je désirais le matin, en vain m'étais-je efforcé de tirer de mes livres un sursis à ma tristesse pour ma Lénore perdue, pour la précieuse et rayonnante fille que les anges nomment Lénore, et qu'ici on ne nommera jamais plus. People, that's it. I wish you all a lovely, lovely day or evening or night, wherever you may be. Thank you again so very much for sticking around, for being here, for sharing all the love. And until I see you next time, be kind. Au revoir.